Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got a trade to announce. The Wizards and the Pistons have come to a conclusion that a deal was necessary. And I don't blame them because they both need trades. So you got Bagley and Levers headed to the Wizards, and Gallinari and Muscala and 2 seconds are headed to the Pistons. I read somewhere one of these IG comments. It was like these are like neighbors exchanging 2 garbage cans with one another. You know, it's one of those type of things. It was like, all right, man, I get it for Detroit to a degree because you got Bagley on a $12 million contract coming up next year. You don't want to pay him $12.5 in 2024, 2025. You don't want to pay him that. And then Isaiah Levers on a $1 million deal is expiring, and we've talked a lot about Isaiah Levers being like arguably the worst player in the league. Like, he's horrible. He really is. So you trade him, you get him off your books, you get him out of rotation. That's a good thing for the Detroit Pistons. Bagley wasn't doing nothing for you. You didn't even have him in rotation. He's better than what he's being played to be in Detroit. And that gives you shooting in return. Muscala is, of course, a much improved shooter. And Gallo, even though he's been hurt, in theory can come in and shoot the ball. And both of those are expiring contracts, so they come off your books at the end of the season. So it's no harm, no foul with those 2 players. At least you're bringing in what should be some shooting. Should Muscala and Gallinari, if they can just run around for 10 minutes a night, they create spacing for Detroit. So for Detroit, I think you wish you could have got a little more for Bagley, but the 2 second-round picks are basically what Bagley's for. You get the 2 second-rounders, so that's draft equity for Bagley. I would have loved to have gotten something else for Bagley, but I guess that's all they could get on the market. And I told you guys, if you're a bad team and you're known for making bad moves, you're gonna get taxed harder for what you have than anybody else would, because essentially it's in the responsibility of the league to more or less treat you the way you need to be treated, since it's so hard to get good deals because everybody's leveraging everybody over their last deal and over what their everything is worth. When you run into a team that's made bad decisions, they're usually going to get fleeced. So in this case, I think they could have got a little more for Bagley, but I think they might have run into a little bit of that with the Washington Wizards. Now the Wizards, I guess they thought they could use Bagley. And that's what it really comes down to. Maybe they think, we could use Bagley in a move. Maybe we could do something with Bagley. And bringing in Levers' $1 million contract, I'm pretty sure he won't be used in rotation. Like I said, that dude is terrible. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I know he's probably a developing player, but he consistently shoots poorly. And so that's one of those type of things where it's like, all right, man, I'm happy for Detroit because at least they got Levers off their books. I mean, not their books, but off their rotation. That needed to happen. And for the Wizards, I guess you're excited about bringing in Bagley. Bagley, like I said, Bagley's a player who you don't want to be paying $12 million to next year. But he is better than what Detroit had him doing right now. The rotations that he was in were far and in between, and when he did play, he was okay. And so you get a couple expiring contracts off your books if you're the Wizards as well. Sending Muscala and Gallinari to Detroit, for which Gallinari's probably like one step away from retiring, since last year he was really supposed to have his last hurrah in Boston and then went down with a horrible knee injury. You know what I mean? So you look at him as more of like a coach than acquiring actually a player, to be honest with you. I don't see him doing too much in Detroit, but kind of being a veteran for the young guys, for which they really need it. Somebody who can help the coach along the way. Maybe even they just waive him, to be honest with you. I don't think he even probably wants to put on a uniform. So I can see them just going ahead and waiving his contract, and him probably, heading off into the sunset or trying to find a last hurrah situation for himself within a contender. That's what I see for him. And then Muscala is somebody who can genuinely and generally stretch the floor for the Detroit Pistons, which is what they desperately needed. They needed somebody who could get on the floor and shoot, create some space for anybody and everybody. These rotations they hardly have any shooting. So Muscala's the key for them in this trade, and I don't hate it. Plus, they're bringing back those 2 second-round picks. You could do something with those picks. You can trade those picks You can keep those picks, draft some more, so that gives them draft equity, trade equity that is much needed in Detroit. So, I say this right now. I think Detroit should fire their GM. I really do. But I don't think this was a bad trade for him. I don't think so. I think this is actually a pretty good trade for Detroit. But I still think they need to fire the GM. After everything that's been going on, they need to fire the GM for sure. They need to fire their coach most definitely, even with with everything going on. Even with the fact that his contract is $100 million or whatever it is for like 10 years. Whatever they gave him, I don't care, man. What you've seen this year is in dire need of being addressed. And this is not that. This is not that. Exchanging garbage cans with your neighbors. This is not that. You know what I mean? That's really what this comes down to. Detroit won the trade. Now, Washington, taking back Levers, man, I don't know, man. I tell y'all, I have never seen anything good from Levers, man. Never. I just haven't. Maybe he could develop into somebody who shocks the world. I said the same thing about Muscala when he came to the Lakers for Zubats. We traded him and Michael Beasley for Zubats, which was like the worst trade I had ever seen up to that point. Arguably the worst trade in the history of the sport. And we did last minute. Magic Johnson decided he wanted to just get Mike Beasley off of the team. I guess Mike Beasley had done something in that locker room, somebody, but he just went through something in very personal in his life. So it was like, I don't know why it was such a need to trade him in such a, knee-jerk reaction, final second trade deadline trade, that you had to exchange a young center in Zubats to send him to the Clippers. But who we got back was Mike Muscala. And Mike Muscala couldn't barely play. He was basically Isaiah Levers at the time. Now, since then, he's jumped around from OKC and really developed very, very well in OKC. And is now somebody I consider to be a reliable shooter, bench shooter, somebody who I'm not asking to do anything other than shoot. But he could definitely hit some shots. So maybe Levers can develop like Muscala has. But, man, oh, man, can I do better. If I have a roster spot, I'm waving that guy and I'm bringing in somebody else. And I think most people agree. I think the majority of people agree. Anybody who's watched Detroit see them play knows I'm not being ridiculous when I say that. So if Washington puts him on the floor, I'll be pretty surprised. But like I said, he's an expiring contract, so maybe they send him to the G League. I don't know, but I would not have given up Mike Muscala for Isaiah Levers. I wouldn't have did that. Not today. Probably not ever. And I don't really think over the top high of Mike Muscala. He's just a better version of Isaiah Levers. So, yeah, man, that's Washington. I don't know, man. Maybe they believe in Bagley, but even if I believed in Bagley, I'm not spending $12 million on his contract. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. Not this year. That's gonna come off the books, and then I'll sign him at like $2 million, like what he's worth. So the fact that they actually traded for that and gave away draft equity for that, clearly Washington lost the trade. Clearly. I mean, Bagley is like a nice role player. Obviously, he was the 4th overall pick many years ago, and we've seen him play okay for Detroit, but I'm not. You got to look at the numbers on the contract, man. You're not paying $12 million for that, man. Next year, like, you're going to let next year start and you're going to have him on a $12 million expiring contract? Like, the Wizards just have to help me understand what the hell they're doing there. They, too, need to fire their GM, for sure. Most definitely. Letting draft equity exit and letting players like that come in and contracts like that coming in, you did wrong. So that's what I got to say about that. I don't know what the hell Washington's doing. Just throwing away draft equity, 2 second-round picks going out for something that shouldn't ever be paid that amount. Not ever. They basically played double for Marvin Bagley. They paid double. So, and then brought back a worse player on the other side of the trade. Like, Washington got fleeced low-key. They really did. They got fleeced. Because of Marvin's contract. So that's how I'm looking at that. I don't know why anybody would even want to do that. I don't know why anybody want to do that. So yeah, that's bad. That's just bad, man. Detroit won the trade, but like I said, it's a bad set of things going back and forth. The only thing worth having in that is the 2 second rounders that Detroit got. It's the only stuff worth having, man. Everything else in that trade, I could argue I could find a better package for Bagley. I really could. Even though they paid double. I still think that I could probably do something better just off the strength of his name than bringing back 2 guys that probably won't even make rotation in most teams. And just the same, if I'm Washington, I'm not giving away no draft equity to take back Bagley and 2 expiring contracts. I can find somewhere else to go and get younger talent or something of that nature. So I have to argue it's not a bad trade just the same, because both of these things aren't worth really anything. But the need to get rid of those things probably means more to Detroit than it would Washington. Washington don't need to be bringing in Bagley at $12 million. That's just stupid. So that's pretty much what I have to say, man. It's 2 bad teams making bad trades for bad reasons, I'm guessing. But congratulations to Detroit on getting those 2 second rounders. I'm pretty sure they help. Now, can we fire everyone? BDL44, I thank you all for watching.